Okay. Mansao. Mansao, if you want to make it the easiest way of saying what it is, it's like a backwards pak. Okay? At least the first one is. The first one I'm going to introduce is more like a backwards pak. If you move your hand, however, okay, and let me put this real quick in. Okay, if I have this Wing Chun Jong Sao here, right, as Jong Sao, Man Sao is more acting. You could take a Wu Sao or Jong Sao, but Man Sao is an actual more of an action, less than a technique. But we still try to clarify like different structures. There's a reason for it, and I'll tell you later when we talk about Jong Sao. But what we're doing is, when you use the wooden dummy, you make that contact, just putting it straight out there. The first move you do is a Man Sao. It just touches the hand, touches that arm. It doesn't give any kind of action of an attack or defense necessarily. That's why Man Sao is called an asking hand. It's like, from this point, what can you do? You know, we're actually challenging you to do something. So in that case, we'll go from there. So Man Sao, this case of a Man Sao, all we're doing is, with either one, you could just step up one, or two, you could just step up like this, okay? And we're touching the opponent's arms. The opponent's arms are going to have a certain structure. From there, you can decide to either do a lop with the Man Sao hand. You can do any technique you want with that Man Sao hand from there. Maybe you might wait for the opponent to do something else or whatever. We're going to keep it very simple. It's just not going to be like the Gan Sao video, but just keeping it simple. So right here, I have my fighting structure. I'm fighting more like a Street Fighter boxer type. And he's having his hands set a certain way himself. All he's doing necessarily is he's coming in and touching the hand. Right? That's his asking hand. He's saying, from this point, what can you do? Show me something. Right? Now, the last thing I'm going to say before we go through a couple of techniques is this. It's not about whether or not I attack first or he attacks first. Okay? If you see that the person is not going to do anything, you should be the most active person in the fight. Okay? Don't wait for them to do something. That is your first mistake. This initiation of this connection is us actually doing something. We're starting the process. It goes, and especially, like I said, it could use the Jong Sao idea of the hand. And this is where a Jeet Kune Do practitioner would say, we don't fight like Enter the Dragon. Right? That's where they say that. And it's true. But Bruce Lee never liked Man Sao anyway, obviously. You know, that's not, you ain't gonna see a whole lot of times where a Jeet Kune Do school use Man Sao. Unless they learned, not even with Junfang Gung Fu, really. Have you ever Man Sao in the school? Well, your teacher had a Wing Chun background. But most Jeet Kune Do schools don't do Man Sao. And if they do, please tell me. You know, because from the people I've known, I even used to talk to Jerry Poteet. No Man Sao. You know, so anyway, so I'm right here. I have my hand, right? He's checking me. Now, if I happen to punch in that point, he can use that step and check me. So he's already has me out here, right? He already has me out because all he did was make contact with a strong elbow, immovable elbow, and this Man Sao. So from here, my hands already went this way and out from where he's at. Now he can check me if he wants to do whatever he wants. He has me pulled in from a lop sao from Man Sao. Or he can even pop me and attack, right? But from that point, when I threw that hand out, if I was going to do this and I threw my hand like a street fighter and I do this, he's going to check me with that and then he could go from there. So, true, we're not going to start the fight like Enter the Dragon, but can it look like it later? It sure can. So from there, we're going to go through that. He's going to pull out, 3 good techniques of what he feels like he wants to do, and we're going to move on. Henceforth, now we're talking about Chen San Man Sao, because Chen San Man Sao is a front. It is actually a Sunum Dao neutral based attack, even though you don't really learn it in Sunum Dao. So what's happening is he has his hands and I have mine. Now, if my hands are set this way, there's a point where if, let's say I attacked here with my backhand, for example, he could come up with Chen San Man Sao, which looks like he's going to bird span, like span his wings out and fly, right? He has this connection. It's not doing anything to me right now, right? But what is going to happen is from this point, he can decide to like either grab and crash down, for example. Right? He could crash down like that. He could actually take, do lopside from here. You know, and he's going down. The whole point is he's up in the air. He has to bring himself back to a mid position or lower, depending on what he wants to do to dominate a taller, stronger opponent. So he has his connection. And what he's going to end up doing for you guys is he's going to show a few techniques off of this, and then we'll move along. So, we did Chen San. Now, Chak San. Chak, C-H-A-K, is really sort of a reference or the same kind of word as Fox Sao. Fox Sao is actually Fan Sao. You know, there's words twisted, and the reason why there is one, you got Hong Kong Chinese language versus Southern Chinese language.
Mainland.
Yeah, the mainland. And you also got it where at one time, one of the two were actually alike or the same. There are Sunum Dao versions out there where instead of doing Fan Sao when they come out, they do Man Sao. And then they come back to then go and finish the rest of the form. So if you look and search for that Wing Chun out there, there's some even in the Ip Man's lineage that do a Man Sao versus a Fan Sao. You know, they have that history. So in that retrospect, this is usually from doing the side motions of Bu-Ji, right? Doing that motion. So we're gonna use that, and I'm gonna show you something about it, some intricate pieces, but we're gonna first do it the nice way. And the second part, we're gonna do the more dangerous aspect of it. And I want you to pay very close attention to the dangerous aspect too. So he's gonna be on his side. And I'm going to attack normally. Basically, he's seeing me out of peripheral vision. He's making sure he turns because he sees me. And all of a sudden, he's taking care of business, right? Because that's what we do. We TCB, right? So, 1. 2. So he used Chek San Man Sao to attack my nature, okay, attack me, my height, whatever. Those are the main Man Saos you really have to deal with, right? It's not nothing fancy. I'm not trying to make it fancy. It's going to be realistic. Maan Sao is just a great, intricate tool to use when you just need to get something there. Okay? One of the principles that I like to use with Maan Sao or even Jut Sao, it's just, I like to tell my students, just get your hands there. Forget a Tan Sao, forget a Bu Sao, forget all these techniques. Forget Wing Chun as a whole if you have to. But get yourself where that if someone is going to throw a technique, I don't care if you get Checksum Maan Sao or whichever Maan Sao correct. The whole point is get your hands there. Because once you get your hands there, now you should be able to produce. Right? Whatever it is, just get your hands there half the time. And that will solve at least the majority of your problems. If you think about the dogma too much, you're gonna get messed up. All of a sudden you're in the middle of a fight and you hear you fighting. I should Tan Sao. I should Bu Sao. No, forget that.
Get the hand up.
You know, just get your hands up. If your hands are down, get it up. If your hands is up and it's too high up, get them back down. Simple. If your hands is out here, bring it back. You know, and this is why I'm going to teach this last part. It's because there's a point, or last two parts actually. There's a point where, I'm going to get an angle so y'all can really see, that maybe his hands is out here for some reason. He's at this point. My hand is coming for his face. So to return back, we had two ways to do it in the Chung Cubes. People will return back with a Fook Sao or return back with a Jut. I like Jut because it's more, when you bring back that Jut, you still making sure it covers your ribs and to the height of your chin and whatnot. You have a more surface area to keep yourself checked or keep yourself clear of things. So if my hand is here, he needs to hurry up and return that arm back or else, right? So his hand is out here, and from right here, what I'm gonna do, just 2 or 3 separate times on each arm, I want y'all to see this, and maybe in the editing, I'll shave it down to 2 or 1, whatever the case may be, but we're gonna make sure everything's right. All right, so I'm gonna punch, and then he's gonna show you that retracting arm, right? And this is a good point of either doing Fan Sao or even doing the Maan Sao structure. What do you do when your arm's out there and they move or they're getting out of the way? What do you need to do? You need to retract that arm back. Bring it back to center. That's what Moya would say. Hit back to the center line. And sometimes it's not about hitting back to the center line like that. Sometimes it's just the fact of have your arms right out there, get it back here so you're not exposed, right? So, 1, we're going to start that process.